There are more ugly echoes from the New York Times decision to hire Sarah Jeong, the young Asian American writer who the paper stood by, even though she had a long history of absolutely racist tweets against white men, white people, hashtag cancel white people. She called white men dogs and BS and all kinds of curse words. And the paper had argued, and Sarah Jeong had argued, that she'd made a mistake. She regretted it, that she, as a young Asian American, had been the target of a lot of online hate, and that she had slipped into the practice of adopting those despicable techniques by imitating those who were going after him. And there were a couple of examples of how she had been abused. And I had a little bit of sympathy for that. I mean, I hated these tweets. I thought they were despicable, but I could see, I didn't like the fact that an online mob was after her, because we've seen this so often where either the left or the right, depending on the target, tries to get someone fired. But man, my view has evolved on this now as more and more tweets have been unearthed from the newest New York Times editorial writer. First, she went after law enforcement with F the police and cops are a-holes. So now this is no longer just sort of singling out white people and what she originally claimed was satire, but certainly looked a lot more serious than that. Now, you know, is the New York Times comfortable with, you know, F the police? Really? Seriously? And a whole new batch, and this was pointed out by the Washington Times, about the President of the United States. Can't be shocked about that. Trump is Hitler, says Sarah Jeong. Trump equals Hitler. Trump is basically Hitler. You noticing a theme here? Was Hitler as rapey as Donald Trump? I was equating Trump to Hitler before it was cool. Now, can you imagine the Times hiring anybody who used that kind of language? I mean, comparing President of the United States to one of history's greatest mass murderers against a Democrat, a liberal. I mean, would the Times be offering these justifications? That person would be gone before you know it, before you could blink. And this is where I think there's a bit of a double standard that comes in. Now, I understand she didn't do these things for the New York Times, and the paper said it's discussed her social media history with her, but it does sort of suggest that there is a different standard for an ultra-liberal spewing hate, ugliness, and bigotry in the direction of white people, cops, Donald Trump, than there might be if it was the mirror image. And all this is unfolding after Facebook and YouTube and Apple and Spotify banned Alex Jones from their very popular platforms. Alex Jones, the founder of InfoWars. And I've gotten a lot of heat, I wrote about this yesterday, from conservatives saying, you know, this is a violation of the First Amendment and so forth. Well, actually, it's not, because these are private companies. And they can do whatever they want in terms of who they allow on their platforms. They've been under enormous pressure to police the content on their platforms. And it is true that there are absolute documented instances, particularly Facebook and Twitter, going after conservatives, libertarians, banning them, shadow banning them, suspending them. Facebook and Twitter have acknowledged this. They say they're trying to do better. But I think it would be a mistake to say, you know, that Alex Jones is being kicked off because his views are too conservative. It's because he peddles conspiracy theories like the Newtown, Connecticut school massacre never happened. There's litigation on that. Like the Pizzagate conspiracy, you know, child sex trafficking ring tied to Democrats here at a pizza place in Washington, never happened. He ended up apologizing for that one. That's the reason he was banned. We can debate whether or not that was a good idea, but he still, you know, he can still have his online show and reach lots of people. Obviously, his reach will be curtailed if he can't get on these popular platforms. But when you compare that to the New York Times, which did unhire somebody just a few months ago, Quinn Norton, whose history of tweets went after gays, it just makes you wonder. I don't like the online mob mentality, but I sure don't like the ugliness and bigotry that some people feel comfortable spewing, and then they get rewarded with prestigious jobs.